Gospel. The second reading has its own cycle, and right now we are following readings from the letter to the Galatians. But in the prophecy here of Zechariah, we have this mysterious character. People will be weeping for him as people weep for a firstborn child. And they will look on the one whom they have pierced. Does that sound familiar? He couldn't have seen the cross when he wrote that centuries earlier, but it was remembered by a witness, an eyewitness, John, the beloved disciple, when he saw the Lord's side being pierced with a lance. And this is what is coming through in the Gospel. We have a Saviour who did not cling to his kingship here on earth. He abdicated before men, and that is the Saviour that we follow. He is trying already to warn his disciples not to expect anything else. Indeed, it would seem that one of the 12 joined from mixed motives. You know which of the 12 I mean. And ended up, when frustrated, handing him over. He did not fulfill delivering the goods that he had hoped for. Judas had a sticky end. But we also can have that notion of gratification. It can happen in church life specifically, e.g., wanting a career in the church. It can also subtly come in through wanting a ministry in the church, to be a leader, to be recognized as an extra special person. When one looks around, one sees that true glory is not of that order. Sometimes one finds it in the most unexpected corners. I am pleasantly surprised when I find, for instance, hidden gems, in the females especially, of the travelling community, who, classed by others as category B in society, do what is in their limited power to make ends meet, often against all odds, and try their level best to cope, just to cope. Do you think that God is absent from that? He has far more trouble, I would say, in getting through to a self-sufficient soul. We call it hardness of heart. And if you don't think that's around, open your eyes. On a Saturday evening, I regularly place myself in the confession box and then come out and go home to the hermitage when Father comes on the altar for Mass itself. But I am saddened by the fact that just in front of the box are many, many souls, and hardly one even thinks vaguely about the slight need for cleansing. I'm not saying they're hardened of heart, but I am saying what is going on. At the very moment when perhaps they need cleansing, they're actually talking to each other sometimes, and in that very act offending God. For he is there watching them from the tabernacle, as are the angels. So let's get this straight. What other people think of us is one thing. What the Saviour sees is another. And when it comes to seeing others, we need to see them with that gaze of the Lord, in their glorious misery. Therefore, be careful. Often, it is easier to get through to a broken soul who has made many mistakes and at last recognizes it, than it is to someone who thinks he's not made a single mistake. Humility draws the grace of God, as it does the affections of people. A proud soul is repulsive, a humble soul attracts. which is our category. I just finished with one concrete point. A humble soul, tendentially, is not a noisy soul, for noise is the fruit of pride. Hell is full of noise, and the demon is a noisy specimen. If we like noise, if we like to switch on machines which make a lot of noise, if we like noisy company, we resemble Old Nick. If we're quiet and receptive, gentle and loving, we resemble the angels, and we're not quite so callous and hardened in heart.